In this gripping tale of innocence meets intuition, 11-year-old Maya becomes an unlikely hero when a seemingly ordinary day at the park takes a sinister turn. When a mysteriously cheerful ice cream vendor arrives offering free treats, only Maya notices the subtle signs that something isn't quite right. As children flock to the unmarked truck and her mother steps away for a work call, Maya must trust her instincts to protect not only her younger brother, but potentially every child at the park. What begins as a peaceful afternoon transforms into the first chapter of a chilling story that will test one young girl's courage, wit, and determination to expose a dangerous predator hiding behind a friendly facade. But before we dive into this story, tell us in the comments from where you're watching from today, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Riverside Park as Maya Thompson helped her little brother Jordan out of their mom's weathered Honda Civic. At 11 years old, Maya already carried herself with the composure of someone much older, her dark eyes constantly scanning their surroundings as Jordan bounced excitedly beside her. "Can we go to the monkey bars first? Please, Maya, please." Jordan tugged at the sleeve of her purple hoodie, his gap-toothed smile impossible to resist. Their mother, Carla, emerged from the driver's seat, still wearing her hospital scrubs from her morning shift at Metropolitan General. Dark circles rimmed her eyes, but she managed a warm smile as she watched her children. "Go ahead, you two. I need to rest these tired feet for a bit." Maya understood without being told. Her mom had been pulling double shifts lately, ever since Dad had moved out 6 months ago. She'd overheard enough late-night phone conversations to know money was tight, but Carla never let it show in front of the kids. "Come on, Squirt," Maya said, taking Jordan's hand. "But remember the rules. Stay where you can see me," Jordan finished, rolling his eyes in the dramatic way only a 7-year-old could master. I know." The playground buzzed with the usual weekend activity. A group of toddlers wobbled around the sandbox while their parents hovered nearby with phones raised, capturing every precious moment. Older kids claimed the swings, pushing higher and higher as if trying to touch the clouds. The familiar sounds of laughter and squealing filled the air, mixing with the gentle rustle of leaves in the spring breeze. Carla settled onto an empty bench near the playground's edge, pulling out a worn paperback from her purse. "I'll be right here if you need me," she called out, but Maya was already leading Jordan toward the monkey bars. "Okay, remember what I taught you." Maya positioned herself beside the bars as Jordan grabbed the first rung. "Keep your arms straight and momentum is my friend," Jordan declared proudly, swinging forward. Maya walked alongside him, hands hovering just below his waist in case he slipped. She'd spent weeks helping him master the monkey bars, and though he could probably do it on his own now, she couldn't help being protective. "That's it. You're doing great," Maya encouraged as Jordan made it halfway across. A particularly strong gust of wind rustled through the trees, carrying with it the distant, tinkling melody of an ice cream truck. Jordan's head snapped toward the sound, his concentration broken. "Ice cream." His grip loosened, but Maya was ready, catching him before he could fall. "Careful there, monkey boy," she said, helping him down. Other kids had heard it too, and excitement rippled through the playground like a wave. The music grew louder, and soon a white truck appeared around the corner, rolling slowly down the street that bordered the park. Maya frowned slightly as the truck approached. Something seemed off, but she couldn't quite put her finger on it. The vehicle was pristine white, almost too clean, but completely unmarked. No colorful logos of ice cream brands, no painted pictures of sundaes or popsicles. Just a plain white truck with a service window on the side. "Can we get some? Please?" Jordan bounced on his toes, already gravitating toward the growing crowd of children gathering near the curb. Maya held him back gently, studying the scene before them. The man in the truck appeared as the service window slid open, and Maya's unease grew. He looked ordinary enough, maybe in his 30s with short brown hair and a blue polo shirt, but his smile seemed plastered on, like a mask that didn't quite fit. His eyes darted between the children, never settling on one for too long, yet somehow managing to focus intently on each of them. "Hey there, kids." His voice carried across the playground, artificially cheerful. Who wants some free ice cream? A chorus of excited shouts erupted from the gathered children. Maya noticed how the man's attention seemed to sharpen at the word free, his eyes scanning the crowd with renewed interest. Jordan, wait, Maya said firmly as her brother tried to pull away again. Let's check with Mom first. But when Maya looked over at their mother's bench, she saw Carla standing several feet away, phone pressed to her ear. Even from this distance, Maya could read the tension in her mother's posture. Another work call. Maya, honey, Carla called out, covering the phone's microphone with her hand. I need to take this. It's the hospital. Watch your brother for a few minutes, okay? Maya nodded, her sense of responsibility weighing heavily as she watched her mother walk further away for privacy. The ice cream man had begun handing out treats, and Maya noticed how he seemed to focus on specific children, the ones standing slightly apart from others, the ones whose parents weren't paying attention. What's your name, sweetheart? She heard him ask a little girl in a yellow sundress. Is your mommy here with you today? The question seemed innocent enough, but something in his tone made Maya's skin crawl. She watched as he handed the girl a popsicle, then quickly typed something on his phone before serving the next child. Maya, everyone's getting ice cream, Jordan whined, pulling at her hand again. It's free. Please. A boy about Jordan's age ran past them, clutching a chocolate-dipped cone. The ice cream man says he has special prizes in his truck too, the boy announced excitedly. Maya's heart skipped a beat. She'd seen enough safety videos at school to know that adults shouldn't offer to show children anything in their vehicles. She pulled Jordan closer, wrapping an arm around his shoulders. Not today, buddy, she said firmly, though her voice shook slightly. I don't think Mom would want us taking food from strangers. But he's not a stranger. He's the ice cream man, Jordan protested, his lower lip trembling. Maya watched as the man continued serving ice cream, his movements almost mechanical. Every few children, he would glance at his phone, type something quickly, then return to his practiced smile. She noticed how he tensed slightly whenever an adult approached, his cheerful demeanor faltering for just a moment before snapping back into place. Tell you what, Maya said, trying to distract Jordan. When Mom's done with her call, we can ask her to take us to Freddy's ice cream shop. Remember how much you love their rainbow sprinkles? Jordan considered this, his desire for immediate gratification warring with the promise of his favorite ice cream parlor. Can I get 2 scoops? We'll see what Mom says. Maya hedged, relief flooding through her as Jordan's attention began to drift from the ice cream truck. The man's voice carried across the playground again. Who else wants a special treat? Don't be shy. Everything's free today. Maya watched as more children gravitated toward the truck, drawn by the promise of free ice cream like moths to a flame. She observed how the man's eyes lit up whenever a child approached alone, how his questions became more probing. What's your favorite subject in school? Do you live nearby? Does your daddy work late? Each question seemed casual, but Maya's stomach twisted as she realized he was collecting information, storing it away with each quick tap on his phone. She thought about the unmarked truck, the targeted questions, the offered prizes. Pieces of a puzzle she didn't want to solve but couldn't ignore. Hey look! Jordan suddenly pointed toward the monkey bars. I bet I can make it all the way across by myself now. Maya allowed herself to be pulled back toward the playground equipment, but she kept one eye on the ice cream truck. She positioned herself so she could spot any trouble while still spotting Jordan as he attempted to conquer the monkey bars solo. Remember, she called out, straight arms and momentum is my friend. Jordan laughed, swinging forward with newfound confidence. As Maya watched her brother navigate the bars, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong with the ice cream man. His presence felt like a shadow over the sunny afternoon, a dark current running beneath the surface of normal park activities. More parents had drifted away from the playground, drawn into their phones or conversations with other adults. Maya's mom was still deep in discussion about hospital schedules, pacing near a cluster of oak trees. The ice cream man continued his routine: serve, smile, type, repeat. With each passing minute, his questions seemed to grow bolder, his attention more focused on the children who strayed furthest from watchful eyes. Jordan made it across the monkey bars successfully, pumping his fists in victory. "Did you see that, Maya?" "I did it. That was awesome." Maya forced enthusiasm into her voice, trying to keep her growing unease from spoiling her brother's triumph. "Want to try again?" But Jordan's attention had already shifted back to the ice cream truck. A new group of kids had gathered, showing off their free treats. "Maya, please? Just one ice cream? I'll be really quick." "No, Jordan," Maya said firmly, her protective instincts flaring as she watched the man lean out his window, beckoning to a particularly young child. "That ice cream truck, something's not right about it." "What do you mean?" Jordan asked, his 7-year-old face scrunching in confusion. Maya struggled to explain her fears in a way that wouldn't frighten him. "Well, you know how Mom always says we should be careful around strangers? Even if they seem nice." Jordan nodded slowly. "And you know how the ice cream trucks usually have pictures all over them? Like the one that comes down our street?" Another nod. "This one doesn't have any pictures. No company name, nothing. And he's giving everything away for free, but keeps asking kids questions about their parents. That's not normal." Jordan's eyes widened slightly as he processed this information. Maya could see him comparing this truck to their regular neighborhood ice cream van, with its faded but cheerful decorations and familiar driver who knew all the local kids by name. "But," Jordan began, but was cut off by a commotion near the truck. A small girl, maybe 5 or 6, was standing at the window, reaching for an ice cream cone. The man held it just out of reach, saying something Maya couldn't quite hear. The girl stepped closer, and Maya saw the man's other hand move toward the truck's door handle. "Jordan, stay here," Maya commanded, her heart pounding. "Don't move from this spot. Promise me." "I promise," Jordan whispered, clearly sensing his sister's anxiety. Maya took a deep breath, knowing she needed to do something, but unsure exactly what. Her mom was still on the phone, and most of the other adults seemed oblivious to the subtle wrongness of the situation. She watched as the ice cream man continued his practiced routine, but now she could see it for what it was, a performance designed to look normal while hiding something far more sinister. The afternoon sun continued to shine. The breeze still carried the sound of children's laughter, but Maya felt as though she were watching a different scene entirely. One where danger lurked behind friendly smiles and free ice cream, waiting for just the right moment to strike. Standing beside the monkey bars, Maya realized she couldn't ignore what she was seeing. But what could one 11-year-old girl do about it? As she watched the man check his phone yet again, typing rapidly while scanning the playground, Maya knew she would have to figure that out, and soon. Maya's heart pounded against her ribs as she maintained her position near the monkey bars, one hand firmly holding Jordan's while her eyes tracked the ice cream man's movements. The more she watched, the more obvious his pattern became. It was like seeing a spider weave its web. Methodical, patient, and deeply unsettling. A group of mothers chatted animatedly near the swings, their children playing together in a noisy cluster. The ice cream man barely glanced their way. Instead, his attention fixed on a small boy who had wandered away from his distracted father, who was deep in conversation on his phone. "Hey there, little buddy." The man's voice carried across the playground, syrupy sweet. "Would you like some ice cream? It's free today." Maya watched as the boy approached the truck, noting how the man's smile widened when he confirmed the child was essentially alone. Her stomach churned as she remembered the safety assemblies at school, where Officer Rodriguez had warned them about predators who specifically target isolated kids. "Jordan," Maya whispered, "let's move closer to the climbing frame. I can see better from there." Her brother nodded, still somewhat subdued by their earlier conversation about stranger danger. They relocated to the metal structure, which offered a clearer view of the ice cream truck, while providing enough cover that Maya didn't feel too conspicuous. A new girl appeared at the park, maybe 8 or 9 years old, wearing a red polka dot dress and carrying a worn teddy bear. She stood uncertainly at the park's entrance, looking around as if waiting for someone. Maya noticed the ice cream man's posture change immediately, like a cat spotting a bird. "Would you like some ice cream, sweetheart?" he called out to the girl. "What's your name?" "Sophia," The girl replied shyly, clutching her teddy bear tighter. But I'm supposed to wait for my big sister. She's coming from dance class. Maya's attention sharpened. The man's expression flickered for just a moment, something predatory in his eyes before the friendly mask slipped back into place. Well, Sophia, why don't you come have some ice cream while you wait? I have some special prizes in the back of my truck, too. Would you like to see them? Maya's blood ran cold. She remembered the missing children posters she'd seen on her mother's social media feed. Young faces smiling out from beneath bold red letters. How many of them had been lured away with promises of prizes and treats? Sophia took a hesitant step toward the truck, then stopped, uncertainty written across her face. Maya silently urged her to stay back, to listen to whatever instinct was making her pause. I don't know, Sophia said, shifting from foot to foot. My sister should be here soon. The man's smile tightened, almost imperceptibly. It'll just take a minute. I have some really cool toys back there. Brand new dolls, even prettier than your teddy bear. Maya couldn't stay silent any longer. She needed to test her suspicions, to prove to herself that she wasn't just being paranoid. Jordan, stay right here on the climbing frame where I can see you. Don't move, okay? I mean it. Okay, Jordan agreed, already occupied with trying to reach the highest bar. Maya took a deep breath and walked toward the ice cream truck, forcing herself to appear casual. She noticed how the man's expression changed when he saw her approaching, subtle but distinct. The warmth in his smile didn't reach his eyes. Hi, Maya said, trying to keep her voice steady. Could I get an ice cream? Where do you usually work? I've never seen your truck before. The man's fingers twitched slightly, and his eyes darted away from her face. Oh, all over. Different neighborhoods. Moving around keeps things interesting. Maya pressed further, watching his reactions carefully. But which ice cream company do you work for? Your truck doesn't have any logos. Just a small local business, he said dismissively, already looking past her to where Sophia still stood, uncertain. Nothing you'd know. Now, if you'll excuse me. Maya stepped back, her suspicions deepening. As she retreated, she heard him speaking to another child, a boy of about 6 who had wandered over. Actually, your mom asked me to take you home, the man was saying in a conspiratorial whisper. She had to run an errand and told me to pick you up. I've got some video games in the truck we can play on the way. Maya froze. She could see the boy's actual mother sitting on a nearby bench, absorbed in a book. The lie was so blatant, so dangerous, that Maya felt fear crystallize in her chest. The boy, thankfully, shook his head. No, my mom's right there, he said, pointing to the bench before running back to play. Maya watched as the man's friendly facade cracked for just a moment, frustration bleeding through. He pulled out his phone again, typing rapidly. Then he reached beneath the counter and produced a small notebook, jotting something down with quick, sharp movements. Looking around desperately, Maya spotted a mother she recognized from their neighborhood, Mrs. Patterson, whose daughter was in Maya's class at school. She was sitting alone on a bench, scrolling through her phone while her younger son played in the sandbox. Maya approached her carefully, trying to appear calm. Mrs. Patterson, can I talk to you for a minute? The woman looked up, smiling kindly. Of course, Maya. Is everything okay? Maya kept her voice low, conscious of not wanting to cause a panic. I'm really worried about that ice cream man. He keeps trying to get kids to go behind his truck to see prizes, and I heard him tell a little boy that his mom asked him to drive him home. But I could see the boy's mom right there on the bench. Mrs. Patterson's smile faded as she listened, her eyes moving to study the ice cream truck. Are you sure about what you heard? Yes, Maya insisted. And his truck has no company name, and he won't say where he works, and he keeps writing things in a notebook while watching specific kids. The woman's expression grew serious as Maya spoke. She sat up straighter, her attention now fully focused on the scene before them. That does sound concerning, she admitted, watching as the man continued to serve ice cream while typing on his phone between customers. A high-pitched giggle drew their attention. Sophia had finally ventured closer to the truck, though she still clutched her teddy bear like a shield. The man was holding out an elaborate ice cream sundae, topped with colorful sprinkles and a cherry. This is a special one, Just for you, he was saying, his voice honey-sweet. But you'll have to come around back to get it. It's too fancy to pass through the window. Don't want to spill it. Maya's heart leaped into her throat as she watched Sophia take another step toward the truck. The man's eyes gleamed with triumph as he set down the sundae and began to move toward the truck's rear door. I still don't know, Sophia said, but her resolve was clearly weakening at the sight of the elaborate treat. It'll just take a second, the man assured her, his hand reaching for the door handle. Your sister won't even know you were gone. Maya couldn't wait any longer. She had to do something before Sophia disappeared behind that truck. But what? Her mind raced through possibilities as she watched the scene unfold, knowing that each second that passed could mean the difference between safety and tragedy. Mrs. Patterson was still watching, her brow furrowed with concern, but she seemed uncertain about what action to take. After all, nothing overtly criminal had happened yet, just a series of small, suspicious behaviors that added up to something deeply wrong. Maya looked back at Jordan, still safely occupied on the climbing frame, then at her mother, who had finally finished her phone call but was now talking to another nurse from the hospital who had happened to be at the park. The responsibility felt massive on Maya's 11-year-old shoulders, but she knew she couldn't stay quiet any longer. The man was still coaxing Sophia, his voice growing more insistent. Come on, sweetheart. Don't you want your special sundae? I made it just for you. Sophia took another step toward the back of the truck, and Maya saw the man's hand move to his pocket, where something metallic glinted in the afternoon sun. The sight galvanized her into action. Whatever that object was, she couldn't let Sophia get any closer to finding out. Maya's mind raced through everything she'd observed, the targeted approaches to isolated children, the mysterious phone activity, the notebook full of scribbled notes, the lies about parents sending him to pick up their kids, the complete absence of proper business identification, and now this attempt to lure a little girl behind his truck. Each detail on its own might have seemed innocent enough, or at least ambiguous. But together, they painted a picture that Maya couldn't ignore. She thought about all the times adults had told her to trust her instincts, to speak up when something felt wrong. Well, everything about this situation felt wrong, and she could no longer stay silent. The man's hand was on the truck's back door now, his other hand still holding the sundae like bait. Sophia stood just a few feet away, her teddy bear dangling forgotten at her side, as she stared at the elaborate ice cream creation. Maya knew she had to act fast. She couldn't let another child become just another face on a missing poster, another tragedy that people would shake their heads about and say, if only someone had noticed something suspicious. She had noticed. She had seen all the red flags, all the warning signs, and now she had to do something about it. Taking a deep breath, Maya squared her shoulders and stepped forward. She might be just a kid, but she was a kid who had spent the last hour watching this man's every move, documenting his suspicious behavior, and connecting all the dots. She was a kid who had been taught about stranger danger and had paid attention. Most importantly, she was a kid who wasn't afraid to speak up when something was wrong. The ice cream man was still focused on Sophia, his back partially turned to the rest of the playground as he continued his efforts to lure her behind the truck. He hadn't noticed Maya's approach, hadn't realized that his carefully constructed facade was about to be torn down by an observant 11-year-old girl who had seen through every one of his tricks. Maya's heart hammered in her chest as she prepared to confront him. She knew that what she was about to do would cause a scene, would draw attention, would potentially create chaos in the peaceful park. But she also knew that sometimes causing a scene was exactly what needed to be done to prevent something much worse from happening. She glanced one more time at Jordan, still safely on the climbing frame, then at Mrs. Patterson, who was now standing and watching the situation with growing concern. Maya took another deep breath, gathering her courage. The time for quiet observation was over. Now it was time to act. Sophia's hand reached out toward the sundae, and the man's smile grew wider, more predatory. He began to open the truck's back door, just a crack at first, but Maya could see his intent clearly now. Whatever he had planned, it ended here. Maya stepped forward, her voice rising above the general playground noise, clear and strong despite her fear. She had watched long enough. She had gathered enough evidence. She had connected enough dots. Now it was time to expose this man for what he really was, before he had the chance to harm Sophia or any other child at the park. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the playground as Maya prepared to speak, to challenge the man who had spent the last hour pretending to be something he wasn't. The peaceful scene was about to shatter, but sometimes peace had to be broken to prevent something far worse from happening. Maya opened her mouth, ready to sound the alarm that would bring this man's carefully constructed plan crashing down around him. The weight of responsibility pressed heavy on her young shoulders, but she knew that what she was about to do was right. She had to protect Sophia, had to protect all the children at the park, had to expose the danger that lurked behind that friendly smile and free ice cream. The time for observation was over. The time for action had come. "Hey!" Maya's voice rang out across the playground, clear and sharp. "Why doesn't your ice cream truck have any logos on it?" "Every rail ice cream truck has a company name." The man froze, his hand still on the truck's door handle. Several parents looked up from their phones and conversations, drawn by the unexpected challenge in Maya's young voice. Sophia took a startled step back, clutching her teddy bear. The elaborate sundae remained suspended in the man's other hand as he turned to face Maya, struggling to maintain his cheerful facade. "Well, sweetheart," he said, his voice strained beneath its sugary coating. "Like I said before, it's a small local business. We're just starting out." Maya stood her ground, heart pounding but voice steady. "That's not true. You need permits and licenses to sell food. Those always have to be displayed. Where are your permits?" More parents were turning now, some standing up from benches and moving closer. Mrs. Patterson had already positioned herself at the edge of the gathering crowd, her phone discreetly raised to her ear. The man's face tightened, though his smile remained fixed in place. Now, there's no need to make a fuss. I'm just trying to give out some free treats to make everyone's day better." "Free treats?" Maya's voice grew stronger as she noticed the adults paying attention. "Or are you trying to lure kids behind your truck with promises of special prizes?" A murmur ran through the growing crowd. The man's cheery facade cracked further, sweat beading on his forehead despite the mild spring weather. "You're misunderstanding the situation," he said, forcing a laugh that sounded hollow. "I just wanted to share some ice cream with." "I heard you tell that little boy his mom sent you to take him home," Maya cut in. "But his mom was right there on the bench." "You lied." The boy's mother pushed through the crowd, her face pale. "What? Someone tried to tell my son what?" The man's smile vanished entirely now, replaced by a nervous grimace. He set down the sundae and raised both hands in a placating gesture. "Now wait just a minute. This is all a big misunderstanding. This little girl is making up stories." "I'm not making anything up." Maya's voice grew louder, fueled by righteous anger. "You've been watching specific kids all afternoon. The ones who are alone or whose parents aren't paying attention. You keep typing things on your phone and writing in that notebook." More parents pressed forward, protective instincts awakened. Maya saw her mother pushing through the crowd, her face a mask of concern. "Maya, what's going on?" Carla called out. "Mom, he's been trying to get kids to go behind his truck." Maya pointed accusingly at the man, who was now glancing between his truck's cab and the growing crowd. "He doesn't have any proper business identification, and he's been asking kids personal questions about their families." Sophia, who had backed away during the confrontation, suddenly spoke up in a small, trembling voice. He told me to wait behind the truck for a special surprise. Said he had toys better than my teddy bear." A collective gasp rose from the gathered parents. Someone in the crowd shouted, "I'm calling the police." The man's face had lost all pretense of friendliness, his features hardening into something ugly and desperate. "You're all overreacting. This is ridiculous." "Then show us your business license," Maya demanded. "Show us your food service permits. Prove you're really an ice cream vendor." Mrs. Patterson stepped forward, phone still at her ear. "The police are on their way. They'd like to check your credentials, sir." The man's eyes darted wildly around the crowd, looking for an escape route. Maya noticed his hand sliding toward his pocket again, where she'd seen the metallic glint earlier. "Don't let him reach into his pocket," she shouted. "He has something in there. I saw it shine in the sun. Several fathers moved forward, but the man was already lunging for his truck's cab. He yanked the door open and threw himself inside as parents shouted and tried to reach him. The engine roared to life, and the truck lurched forward, tires screeching against the pavement. Children screamed and parents pulled them back as the vehicle accelerated away from the curb, ice cream supplies tumbling from the serving window. In the distance, Maya heard approaching sirens, but she knew they would be too late. The white truck disappeared around a corner, leaving behind only a cloud of exhaust and scattered evidence of its presence. "Is everyone all right?" Carla called out, running to embrace Maya. "Jordan? Where's Jordan?" "I'm here, Mom." Jordan's voice came from the climbing frame. He scrambled down and ran to join his family, eyes wide with excitement and fear. 2 police cars pulled up, lights flashing, but Maya knew the man was gone. Officers jumped out, quickly taking in the scene of agitated parents and frightened children. "He went that way," several people shouted, pointing in the direction the truck had fled. One officer immediately returned to his car to pursue the suspect, while his partner began questioning the crowd. "Can someone tell me exactly what happened here?" Parents began talking all at once, but Mrs. Patterson's voice cut through the chaos. "This young girl, Maya, she saw everything. She's the one who exposed him." The remaining officer, a kind-faced woman with graying hair, knelt down to Maya's level. "Can you tell me what you noticed about this man?" Maya took a deep breath, fighting back tears of frustration. He was driving an unmarked white ice cream truck, no company logos or permits displayed. He kept trying to get kids to go behind the truck to see special prizes. He told one boy that his mom had sent him home, but it was a lie. He was typing things on his phone and writing in a notebook while watching specific children. The officer nodded gravely, taking notes. "That was very observant of you, Maya. Can you remember what the man looked like?" "He was wearing a blue polo shirt," Maya recalled. "Brown hair, kind of short, maybe in his 30s. He had a fake smile that didn't reach his eyes, and he got nervous whenever adults came close to the truck." Sophia's older sister had arrived during the commotion and now hugged her younger sibling tightly. "Thank you," she called out to Maya, her voice shaking. "Thank you for stopping her from going behind that truck." Maya's mother kept one arm around her daughter while holding Jordan's hand. "I can't believe this happened right here in our park," she said. "Maya, honey, how did you know something was wrong?" "I just noticed things," Maya said, suddenly feeling drained. Little things that didn't add up. The way he focused on certain kids, how he avoided talking to adults, the missing logos and permits. And then when he tried to get Sophia to go behind the truck, she shuddered. The officer finished taking notes and stood up. "You did exactly the right thing, Maya. Your attention to detail and willingness to speak up may have prevented something terrible from happening today." More police cars arrived, and officers spread out to interview witnesses and search for evidence. Maya watched as one officer carefully collected the fallen notebook that the man had dropped in his hasty escape. "I just wish we'd caught him," Maya said quietly, leaning against her mother's side. "Hey," her mother said firmly, turning Maya to face her. "You did something incredibly brave today. Thanks to you, we have a description of this man, his vehicle, and evidence from his notebook. The police will find him." Jordan tugged at Maya's sleeve. "You're like a superhero," he said with complete conviction. "But instead of a cape, you just use your brain." A small laugh escaped Maya despite her frustration. Around them, parents were gathering their children, holding them close, and having serious conversations about stranger danger. The first officer who had pursued the truck returned, looking frustrated. "Lost him in traffic," he reported. "But we've got the plate number from witnesses, and we're putting out an alert to all units. We'll find him." Mrs. Patterson approached Maya's family. "I've already called the neighborhood watch. We're going to organize a meeting, make sure everyone knows what happened here today." The officer who had taken Maya's statement addressed the crowd. "We'll need official statements from everyone who witnessed anything suspicious. But first, I want to acknowledge the young lady who prevented what could have been a tragic situation today." Maya felt her face grow warm as all eyes turned to her. She hadn't been trying to be a hero. She had just known she had to stop something bad from happening. Sometimes the bravest thing we can do is speak up when we see something wrong, the officer continued. Maya showed us today that even a child can make a difference by being observant and having the courage to take action. As the crowd began to disperse and the police continued their investigation, Maya took one last look at the corner where the white truck had disappeared. The man had escaped for now, but thanks to her intervention, he hadn't succeeded in whatever he had planned. More importantly, people were aware now. They would be watching, paying attention, ready to protect their children from predators hiding behind friendly smiles. The afternoon sun was starting to dip toward the horizon, casting long shadows across the playground. But somehow, these shadows seemed less threatening now. Maya had faced down a real monster today, not with superpowers or special abilities, but with observation, courage, and the determination to protect others. Sometimes, she realized, that was enough. Wait! A sharp voice cut through the crowd's murmuring. Mrs. Chun, who taught second grade at the local elementary school, was pointing toward a cluster of scattered napkins near the curb. Look! He dropped something when he rushed away. Maya broke away from her mother's embrace and hurried over. There, half hidden beneath a crumpled napkin, lay a small black notebook. Its pages were ruffled from the fall, and a few loose sheets had scattered across the pavement. Don't touch it, Officer Sarah Martinez called out, quickly pulling on a pair of latex gloves. This could be important evidence. Maya watched as the officer carefully picked up the notebook and the loose papers. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened it to the first page, and Maya saw her face grow pale. Martinez, she called to her partner. You need to see this. The other officer joined her, and together they began flipping through the pages. Maya edged closer, trying to catch a glimpse of what had disturbed them so much. Times, locations. Officer Martinez muttered, her voice tight. Descriptions of, oh God. Maya's mother placed protective hands on her children's shoulders, but Maya couldn't look away from the notebook. She caught glimpses of hurried handwriting, lists of dates, and what looked like carefully drawn maps. There are children's names in here, the second officer said grimly. Detailed descriptions of their routines, what time they usually come to different parks. A collective shudder went through the gathered parents. Sophia's sister pulled her closer, while other parents did the same with their children. Maya, Officer Martinez said, looking up from the notebook. You've already shown incredible observation skills today. Can you tell us everything you remember about this man? Every detail, no matter how small, could be important. Maya closed her eyes, trying to capture every detail she'd noticed during her careful observation of the ice cream vendor. He was wearing a blue polo shirt, not bright blue, more like the color of faded jeans. Dark brown pants, maybe khakis. His hair was brown too, cut really short on the sides but a little longer on top. He had a small scar near his right eyebrow. The officers exchanged impressed glances as Maya continued. His shoes were black work boots, but they looked new, not scuffed up like you'd expect from someone who works in a food truck all day. He wore a silver watch on his left wrist, and he kept checking it between customers. Oh, and he had a black phone case with some kind of pattern on it. I think they were little red squares. This is excellent, Maya, Officer Martinez said, scribbling notes. What about his behavior? Any particular patterns you noticed? He never made eye contact with adults, but he'd stare at the children when he thought no one was watching. His smile looked practiced, like he'd learned it from a book. When parents came close to the truck, he'd shift his weight to his left foot, like he was ready to run. Maya's mother listened in amazement as her daughter rattled off detail after detail. I had no idea you were so observant, she whispered. There's more, Maya said, warming to her task. He kept his phone in his right pocket, but his wallet in the left. I could see the outline, and whenever he wrote in that notebook, he'd use his left hand, but he served ice cream with his right. The officers continued taking notes, occasionally exchanging meaningful looks. Finally, Officer Martinez closed her notebook and knelt down to Maya's level. You've been incredibly helpful, she said gently. But I need to be honest with you. Catching this man might not be easy. He was careful not to give anyone his real name or any legitimate business information. Later that night, Maya lay in bed, unable to sleep. The events of the day kept replaying in her mind. The man's fake smile, Sophia's hesitation, the metallic glint in his pocket, his desperate escape. Through her partially open door, she could hear her mother's voice in the hallway, talking on the phone. "I just can't believe it happened right in front of us, Claire," Carla was saying, her voice tight with worry. If Maya hadn't been paying attention, God, I don't even want to think about it. No one else noticed anything wrong. We were all just going about our day while this predator was right there, watching our children. Maya slipped out of bed and padded to her desk, opening her laptop. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard for a moment before she began typing. Recent child abduction cases, local area. The results made her stomach churn. 3 children had gone missing from neighboring counties in the past 2 months. The articles described similar circumstances. A friendly stranger, an offer of treats or toys, a moment of distraction. Maya clicked through news reports and police bulletins, her young mind connecting dots that adults might have missed. One article mentioned a white, unmarked van seen near a playground. Another described a suspect who gave out free candy to children. A third reported a man asking children personal questions about their families and routines. Maya opened a new document and began typing, organizing her thoughts. White vehicles, truck/van, with no markings. Offers free treats to children. Asks about family/routines. Takes notes/pictures. Targets isolated kids. Has prizes in vehicle. Left-handed but uses right hand for some tasks. Scar by right eyebrow. New black work boots. Watch on left wrist. Black phone case with red squares. The pieces were starting to fit together. Maya checked the timestamps on the articles. The incidents formed a pattern, moving steadily closer to their neighborhood over the past 2 months. "Maya," her mother's voice made her jump. "Honey, you should be asleep." "Mom, look at this," Maya said, turning her laptop screen. "I think the man from today might be connected to these other cases. Look at the descriptions, the pattern." Carla leaned over her daughter's shoulder, reading through Maya's notes and the articles she'd found. Her face grew increasingly concerned. This is really good detective work, sweetheart," she said finally. "We need to tell the police about this right away." Despite the late hour, Carla called the police station. Officer Martinez was still on duty and listened intently as they described Maya's research. "Actually," the officer said, "we just got some potentially important evidence. The park installed security cameras last month after some vandalism incidents. We've got footage of the truck arriving and leaving, including clear shots of the license plate and the man's face." Maya felt a surge of hope. "Really? Can you see the scar by his eyebrow in the footage?" "We can," Officer Martinez confirmed. "And you were right about the phone case, too, black with red squares. The technical team is going through the footage frame by frame. The license plate is partially obscured by dirt, but we can make out most of the numbers." "What about his notebook?" Maya asked. "Did you find anything else in it?" There was a pause on the other end of the line. "We did," the officer said carefully. "I can't share all the details, but the information you found about similar incidents in other areas. Let's just say it fits with what we discovered in his notes." After they hung up, Maya's mother insisted she try to get some sleep. But as Maya lay in bed, her mind continued to race. The man was still out there somewhere, probably already planning his next attempt. Would he change his appearance? Switch vehicles? Move to a different area? Through her window, Maya could see the streets of her neighborhood, quiet and dark except for the occasional passing car. Somewhere out there, a white ice cream truck with no logos was hidden away, waiting for its next opportunity. But thanks to the evidence left behind, the notebook full of suspicious plans, the security footage capturing his face and license plate, and Maya's detailed observations, the man's chances of succeeding were getting smaller by the minute. The night deepened, and across the city, police officers studied security footage and analyzed notebook entries. They sent Maya's detailed description to neighboring precincts, along with clear images captured by the park's cameras. The man's face, with its telling scar and practiced smile, was being shared with law enforcement agencies throughout the region. The evidence he'd left behind was like breadcrumbs, leading investigators closer to his true identity. Each clue, from Maya's careful observations to the damning contents of his notebook, added another piece to the puzzle. The man might have escaped for now, but his hasty departure had left behind a trail that would prove increasingly difficult to hide. As dawn approached, Officer Martinez sat at her desk, studying the surveillance footage one more time. The camera had captured the exact moment Maya had first noticed something wrong, a split second where the man's friendly mask had slipped, revealing something dark and dangerous beneath. Thanks to one observant young girl and a dropped notebook, that dangerous truth was now exposed for all to see. The notebook lay sealed in an evidence bag at the police station, its pages full of dark plans never to be fulfilled. And somewhere in the city, a white ice cream truck sat hidden away, its unmarked sides now more conspicuous than any logo could ever be. The man had meant to leave no traces, but in his hurried flight, he left behind everything investigators needed to ensure his days of hunting children were numbered. A week had passed since the incident at Riverside Park. The story had spread through the neighborhood like wildfire, turning Maya into something of a local hero, though she felt uncomfortable with the attention. She'd lost count of how many parents had thanked her, how many times she'd had to recount what happened. Now she walked home from school with Jordan and 3 of their friends, Lily, Marcus, and Emma, taking their usual route past Oakwood Park. The younger kids were arguing about their favorite superhero movies while Maya half listened, her mind still occasionally drifting back to the events of that day. Batman could totally beat Iron Man, Jordan insisted, kicking a small stone along the sidewalk. No way, Marcus countered. Iron Man has better tech. Maya stopped dead in her tracks. The others continued a few steps before realizing she wasn't with them. Maya? Lily turned back. What's wrong? But Maya barely heard her. Across the street, partially hidden behind some trees near Oakwood Park's entrance, sat a familiar white truck. Her heart began to pound as her eyes registered the details. Still no logos. Still completely unmarked except for a fresh layer of dust that seemed deliberately applied to obscure the license plate. The man stood at the serving window, and Maya's blood ran cold as she recognized him despite his changed appearance. Gone was the bright blue polo shirt, replaced by a plain gray one that seemed designed to be forgettable. He'd cut his hair shorter and wore a baseball cap, but she could still see the telling scar by his right eyebrow. Guys, Maya said quietly, trying to keep her voice steady. I need you to walk normally to the corner and wait by Mrs. Garcia's flower shop. Don't run. Don't look scared. Just walk like everything's normal. Something in her tone made them obey without question. Even Jordan, who usually argued with every instruction, simply took Lily's hand and walked calmly away from his sister. Once they were safely out of sight, Maya pulled out her phone with trembling fingers and called her mother. Mom, she whispered as soon as Carla answered. He's back. The ice cream truck man. He's at Oakwood Park. What? Her mother's voice sharpened with alarm. Maya, get out of there right now. I'm safe, Maya assured her quickly. I made Jordan and the others go wait at the flower shop. But Mom, he's doing it again. He's wearing different clothes, but it's definitely him. I can see the scar. There was a brief silence. Then Carla spoke firmly. I'm calling the police right now. Maya, I want you to go join the others and wait. But Mom, what if he leaves before the police come? Like last time? Maya watched as 2 young children approached the truck. He's already trying to lure kids again. I can get pictures with my phone. Evidence. Maya, no. It's too dangerous. I'll stay hidden, Maya promised. I can't let him hurt anyone else. Her mother let out a frustrated breath. Do not go anywhere near him. Stay completely out of sight. I'm hanging up to call the police, but I want you to text me your exact location. Promise me? I promise. After ending the call, Maya quickly texted her mother her location, then crept closer to the park, using trees and parked cars as cover. Her phone was ready in her hands as she observed the scene. The man's routine was the same. Free ice cream, friendly smile, careful attention to children who seemed vulnerable. But there were slight changes too. He spoke more quietly now, forcing kids to come closer to hear him. And he seemed more rushed, more nervous, his eyes constantly scanning his surroundings. Maya's hand shook slightly as she raised her phone, zooming in as much as she could. She managed to get several clear shots of his face, including the distinctive scar. Then she circled around, using bushes as cover, until she could capture the truck's license plate. Someone, probably the man, had smeared dirt across it, but most of the numbers were still visible. A young boy approached the truck, and Maya's stomach clenched as she heard the man's words drift across the grass. "Want to see something really cool? I've got some special games in the back." Maya quickly pressed record on her phone, capturing the interaction. She noticed how the man's right hand kept drifting toward his pocket, the same pocket where she'd seen the metallic glint last time. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Police are on their way. Get out of there." But Maya couldn't make herself leave, not while that little boy stood so close to danger. She needed to keep recording, keep documenting everything until help arrived. The distant wail of sirens made the man's head snap up. His practiced smile vanished, replaced by a look of panic. The boy, startled by the noise, backed away from the truck. Maya's phone continued recording as the man slammed his serving window shut and lunged for the driver's door. But before he could reach it, two unmarked police cars pulled up, blocking his truck from both the front and back. "Police, step away from the vehicle." Officer Martinez's voice rang out as she emerged from one of the cars, weapon drawn. The man froze for a split second, then spun around and ran toward the park's wooded area. Two officers sprinted after him, while others secured the truck. Maya's heart pounded as she watched the chase. The man was fast, but the officers were gaining on him. He vaulted over a low fence, his hat falling off in the process, and disappeared into the trees. The sound of more sirens filled the air as additional police cars arrived. Maya could hear Officer Martinez coordinating with other units over her radio, setting up a perimeter around the wooded area. "Maya!" Her mother's voice made her jump. Carla ran up and grabbed her daughter in a fierce hug. "Are you okay? Where are Jordan and the others?" "They're safe at the flower shop," Maya assured her, still clutching her phone. "Mom, I got pictures and video. You can see his face clearly and most of the license plate numbers. And I recorded him trying to lure that little boy to the back of his truck." Carla's face showed a mix of pride and exasperation. "You were simultaneously the bravest and most terrifying daughter a mother could have." Officer Martinez approached them, slightly out of breath from running. "Maya, your mother said you got photos?" Maya handed over her phone, and the officer quickly scrolled through the evidence. "These are excellent," she said. "Clear shots of his face, the license plate. And this video will be very useful in court." A burst of static came from her radio, followed by an excited voice. "We got him. Suspect is in custody." Relief flooded through Maya as she watched two officers emerge from the woods, leading the handcuffed man between them. His plain gray shirt was now dirty and torn from his attempted escape through the trees, and without his hat, the scar by his eyebrow was clearly visible. The man's eyes locked onto Maya as the officers led him past, and she saw recognition flash across his face, quickly followed by anger. She stood her ground, her mother's arm protective around her shoulders, as he was placed in the back of a police car. More parents had gathered at the scene, many clutching their children close as they watched the drama unfold. Maya spotted Jordan and her friends being escorted back by a police officer, and she ran to hug her brother. "Did they catch the bad ice cream man?" Jordan asked, his eyes wide. "They did," Maya assured him. "He can't hurt anyone now." Officer Martinez was overseeing the investigation of the truck. "We've got crime scene units on the way," she told Maya's mother. "Based on our preliminary search, we've already found evidence linking him to at least 3 other attempted abductions in the area." Maya watched as police photographers documented everything, taking pictures of the truck from every angle. The afternoon sun glinted off the vehicle's white surface, no longer appearing innocent and cheerful, but sinister in its blank facade. "You know," Officer Martinez said, kneeling down to Maya's level, "we've been looking for this guy for weeks. But it took a brave, observant young lady to finally help us catch him." Maya felt her face grow warm. I just noticed things, and I couldn't let him hurt anyone else. Well, your noticing things just made our whole community safer. The officer smiled. Though maybe next time, you could be a little less hands-on with the evidence gathering. Maya's mother nodded emphatically at this suggestion, but Maya was only half listening. She watched as more officers arrived, as the crime scene tape went up around the truck, as parents hugged their children and hurried them away from the park. The man who had hidden behind a friendly smile and free ice cream would never be able to hurt any of them now. The afternoon was fading into evening as the police finally finished processing the scene. Maya sat on a park bench with Jordan and their friends, watching as the white truck was hitched to a tow truck to be taken to the police impound lot. "You really are like a superhero," Marcus said, breaking the contemplative silence. "But like a realistic one, using your brain instead of superpowers." Maya smiled, remembering Jordan's similar words from the week before. "Sometimes the most important power is just paying attention," she said, "and not being afraid to speak up when something seems wrong." As they walked home in the gathering dusk, Maya felt lighter somehow. The man's angry glare no longer haunted her thoughts. Instead, she remembered the relief on parents' faces, the gratitude in Officer Martinez's voice, the knowledge that children in their community would be safer now. The setting sun cast long shadows across the streets, but they didn't seem threatening anymore. Maya had faced a real monster and helped bring him to justice, not with supernatural powers or amazing strength, but with observation, courage, and determination. Sometimes, that was all the power anyone needed. 2 days after the arrest, Officer Martinez requested a meeting with Maya and her family at the police station. As they sat in her office, the officer spread several files across her desk, her face grave but satisfied. "We've identified him," she began. "James Robert Keller, wanted in 5 different states for attempted child abductions. Your observations and evidence helped us crack a case that's been ongoing for 3 years." Maya's mother gasped softly, her hand finding Maya's shoulder. Jordan, sitting on their mother's other side, listened with wide eyes. "The evidence we found in his truck was substantial," Officer Martinez continued carefully, mindful of her young audience. "Multiple notebooks filled with details about children in different cities. Maps marked with playground locations. Disguises, false business permits. He'd been perfecting his technique for years, but he never succeeded?" Maya asked quietly. The officer shook her head. "Thanks to observant people like you know. He made attempts, but something always stopped him. A vigilant parent, a suspicious teacher, or in this case, a very brave young lady who noticed what adults had missed." A knock on the door interrupted them. Another officer entered with a tablet, showing Officer Martinez something on the screen. The detective's eyes widened. "We just got the full forensic report from his truck," she explained. There were photos and notes about at least 30 different children he'd been watching. But thanks to Maya's intervention at Riverside Park and her quick thinking at Oakwood Park, we caught him before he could harm anyone. The news spread quickly through the community. That evening, the local news station sent a reporter to interview Maya. She sat nervously in her living room, trying to smooth down her shirt as the camera crew set up. "Just be yourself," the reporter, Ms. Chun, assured her with a warm smile. "Tell us what made you suspicious that day at the park." Once the camera started rolling, Maya found herself relaxing as she recounted the story. "It was lots of little things that didn't add up," she explained. "No logos on his truck, no permits displayed, the way he avoided talking to adults but asked children personal questions. What would you say to other kids about staying safe?" Ms. Chen asked. Maya looked directly into the camera. "Trust your instincts. If something feels wrong, even if you can't explain why, tell an adult. Pay attention to details. And don't be afraid to speak up. Sometimes being brave means making noise when everyone else is quiet." The next day, the mayor announced a community meeting at the Central Park. As Maya arrived with her family, she was amazed to see how many people had gathered. Parents, teachers, police officers, and dozens of children filled the park. Sophia and her parents were among the first to approach Maya. Sophia's mother hugged her tightly, tears in her eyes. "You saved our daughter," she said simply. when we think about what could have happened if you hadn't spoken up that day. Sophia, no longer the hesitant girl from the park, smiled brightly. I tell all my friends now, never trust strangers with ice cream, even if they seem nice. The mayor stepped up to a small podium that had been set up near the playground. Today, we're not just here to thank a brave young member of our community, she announced. We're here to learn from her example and make sure our children are better protected in the future. She outlined new safety measures being implemented in all local parks: security cameras, emergency call boxes, and regular patrols by both police and trained community volunteers. Signs would be posted with safety tips and hotline numbers. Most importantly, a new program would help educate children about recognizing and reporting suspicious behavior. Maya showed us that sometimes the most effective protection comes from simply paying attention and having the courage to speak up, the mayor continued. Her actions not only prevented a tragedy in our community, but helped law enforcement catch a dangerous predator who had evaded capture for years. As Maya listened to the mayor's speech, she thought about how a series of small observations had led to such significant consequences. She hadn't done anything spectacular. She'd just noticed details that seemed wrong and refused to stay quiet about them. Officer Martinez took the podium next, addressing the gathered children directly. Maya taught us all something important, she said. You don't need superpowers to be a hero. You just need to be observant, trust your instincts, and have the courage to tell someone when things don't feel right. The community's response went beyond just gratitude. Parents organized neighborhood watch groups, coordinating with local police to monitor parks and playgrounds. Schools implemented new safety programs, using Maya's story as an example of how ordinary observation could prevent extraordinary harm. Maya found herself being invited to speak at school assemblies, sharing her experience with other students. At first, it felt strange being in the spotlight, but she soon realized the importance of her message. It's like putting together a puzzle, she explained to a group of elementary school students. One piece might not show you the whole picture, but when you put all the little details together, you can see when something's wrong. The local ice cream vendors, worried about children being scared of them, worked with the police to create an official certification program. Now all legitimate ice cream trucks displayed clear identification, permits, and security features that parents and children could easily verify. One evening, as Maya sat on her front porch watching Jordan play with neighborhood friends, her mother joined her with 2 ice cream cones from their favorite local shop. "Penny for your thoughts?" Carla asked, handing Maya a cone. Maya licked her ice cream thoughtfully. "I keep thinking about how different things could have been if I hadn't said anything that first day. All those kids he was watching. But you did say something," her mother reminded her. "And because you did, all those children are safe." Sometimes the biggest changes start with the smallest actions. Maya nodded, watching the neighborhood children play freely in their yards, their parents relaxed but alert. The new security cameras on the street corners were barely noticeable, but their presence, along with the increased community awareness, made everyone feel safer. "You know what the best part is?" Maya said finally. "It's not about me being brave or becoming some kind of hero. It's about showing other kids that they can make a difference too, that their voices matter." Her mother smiled, wrapping an arm around her shoulders. "That's what real heroes do. They don't just solve problems, they inspire others to be brave too." As the sun set on their neighborhood, Maya thought about all the changes that had come from those moments in the park. The man who had hidden behind a friendly smile and free ice cream was facing justice. But more importantly, an entire community had awakened to the importance of staying vigilant and speaking up. Sometimes the biggest victories come not from dramatic battles, but from simple acts of observation and courage. Maya had learned that lesson well, and now she was helping others learn it too. In the end, that might be the most important victory of all. What would you do if courage and quick thinking could save a life? Would you step up, or would fear hold you back? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for joining us on Maya's brave journey. Her story reminds us that even the smallest actions can make the biggest difference. If her courage inspired you, consider subscribing for more stories that celebrate resilience, humanity, and the power of doing what's right. Your support means everything as I continue to share stories that uplift and inspire. See you in the next one.